Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5 Star Revolution podcast with your host, CJ Price. This is another great episode, and thank you so much for all your support. If you haven't heard, we're still doing a $200 Visa gift card giveaway. So share our Facebook page, 5 Star Revolution Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can watch all of our episodes right here on YouTube, 5 Star Revolution Podcast. Tonight, we have our very first cowboy from New Mexico. His name is Caden Hoss. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing good. CJ, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. You're really, truly our first legit cowboy on the podcast.
All the way from New Mexico, dude. We couldn't have it any other way. We beat Texas to something first, man. That's going to be something we can hold against them.
So this is a question that I ask every single guest that comes on my podcast because everybody has a different answer. Did you grow up as a wrestling fan? And if so, who were your favorites growing up?
yeah, man, I grew up watching wrestling with my uncle, the late '90s, so like the start of the Attitude Era, and uh, uh like Rock and Austin and Sting, Hulk Hogan. Who was my favorite though of all time? Man, it's changed over the years, but I probably like today. Oh man, I'm gonna have to say Terry Funk, man. Terry Funk would be probably one of my favorites of all time. Like, 'cause you have to throw in all the legends. I'd like to cut it down into like at least time errors, because I have several choices, man, several choices. But Terry
Terry
Funk is who I'll have to go with.
Terry Funk is a great choice, man. He's a great wrestler. He's a legend. So I respect that answer 100%. So, what's your earliest memory in the wrestling business
As far as like watching
in general?
in general, yeah. Okay, I started, man. I want to say it was like '97 is when I first started to watch wrestling. My uncle, we moved closer to my mother's family in Fort Sumner, New Mexico, and that's heck, my uncle. He'd come over and we would watch it because we had cable and he didn't, and so he would come over and he like paid for a few pay-per-views, and then like the time 1999 or 2000 came through, he finally eventually got cable and he quit coming over. So I fell out for maybe 3 or 4 years there, and then 2005, 2006 is just like I'm 12, 13 years old and like really getting back into it, and I grew up with it as a little kid, and then even as a preteen, and watched it every like man, when I was in high school we'd watch it all the time from junior high through high school, more or less. Man, we were consistent with it.
So, you mentioned that you're from New Mexico, and I know that New Mexico is not really a wrestling state. So, how'd you get your start into the professional wrestling business?
Man, you're right about that. There's nobody out here at the moment. I actually went to school, welding school for college in Levelland, Texas, and that eventually led me to Lubbock, Texas, which eventually led me to a bar show at Jake's Backrooms. Uh, it's a concert area where a bar like, and then they have a little concert area in the back, and they have a wrestling venue there for Square Circle Pro. But I met those guys there that night, and then got in with another group. Actually, started training at Rampage Wrestling in 2015. I think I started in August of 2015, and had my first match in October. So yeah, it's kind of probably wasn't the best match I could have had, or the best way to do it, but that's what, everybody has their own opinion. You got to get in somehow. You don't know till you get in there and in front of the crowd with somebody to do it in front of. You can practice in your backyard your whole life, but you never know if you're good.
So, what's your favorite match you've had so far in your career?
Ooh, man. Dude, I was fortunate. That's what I came up in that West Texas area. I was very fortunate. Amarillo, they still have a weekly, right now, they're not running at the moment, but they generally run weekly. Top of Texas out of Amarillo. And I've had some funny matches because of I'm a cowboy character. That's what I grew up, man. I live on a ranch, so it helps me go back character into person. But man, probably my favorite match. I've had a bull rope match. I've had a hog tie match. Had some tag team matches actually that were probably the most had the fans like the most excited. But that bull rope match has to be like the most biggest epic gimmick match I've ever had, dude. It was fun. That bell though, dude, you gotta watch the corner edges of that bell. That's where it'll hurt you right there.
Did it get bloody? Did it get brutal?
Yeah. Talk about getting your bell wrong, literally. Me and the guy I was wrestling that night, we had an angle we've worked. Man, this was the collision of it. It's probably like 4 months. We built that up, and actually, he hit me with a brick before, and I'd hit him with my branding iron. And when he hit me with a cereal box, that's what it was, but it had a brick in it. And that cereal box, the corner of that cereal box just split my ear open. Like, it didn't split it all the way through, but just scratch enough to get blood all down the side of my face, down the side of my neck.
Wow.
That bull rope match, I did get split open, though, with the cowbell. We didn't have razor blades, so there's no gimmick in that, man. Had a steel cage match. Actually, it was what they have there at Top of Texas, man, out of Amarillo. They have the Bunkhouse Stampede, and I've been in it, I think, 3 or 4 times, and I've won it once. So I got my dog over here. He's being a little.
That's all good, man. No worries.
A little creep.
So for those people that are listening right now who don't know who you are, Caden Hoss, you mind explaining a little bit about your character?
Man, I'm the good time cowboy, Caden Hoss, man. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. So, money talks and bullshit takes a bus.
Do you own any horses or anything like that?
Yes, man. I have my horse. He's just right out here, right outside my trailer here. He's, I think, 6 or 7. He's a red and white roan. He's not bad. He could be a little prick and a little jumpy sometimes, but man, I do a little bit of everything. I stick weld. I've like I said, I've lived on a ranch my entire life. This is my family's actually their partnership ranch between my dad and my grandfather. And man, I lay PVC pipe. I run equipment. There's a little bit of everything. When we got right now, this ranch does not have a lot of cows and calves. That's what it is a cow-calf operation, and it doesn't have a huge number on it. It could hold like 300 to 400, and we're sitting right at 100 or 120. So like cattle work is man, you can do it 2 days a week and get it knocked out. You know what I mean?
Wow. That sounds very manual labor work.
Yeah, man. Now at my dad's house, they run yearlings, and they have probably, man, at the moment probably 500 or 600 head of yearlings in a set of pins there. So that, on the other hand, that's even worse, man. That's 8 hours a day, 7 days a week at least, just to do that. And yeah.
So we mentioned that New Mexico is not really big into the professional wrestling. How do you get bookings? How do you get noticed while living there?
You got man. I learned in West Texas. I had a good group of friends, and actually a friend from Fort Worth. We've traveled, man. You got to travel. If they don't know who you are, they're never going to pay to see you, man. I spent some time in Knoxville with Dr. Tom and Glenn Jacobs, man. I was going to call him Kane, but it's JPWA. You got to say that Jacob Pritchard Wrestling Academy. That was something Dr. Tom would always say. If they don't know who you are, they're not going to ever pay to see you, man. You got to make the miles. Dude, it's just part of it. I've started training out of a group out of Albuquerque, and man, I've only been there 2 months, 3 months. It just turned 3 months, and those guys travel every weekend. It's at least a 5-hour trip they travel, and they're the most. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I might just be a little biased because I'm New Mexican and they're New Mexican, but they're the hungriest group of people I've ever trained with, as far as going out and getting it. Now there were some guys. I take that back. There was guys at JPWA that were making moves, but Tennessee, compared to New Mexico, is a whole different world. Those guys in Albuquerque are getting all their bookings from Colorado, Arizona. I don't know if anybody's been to Utah yet. They probably have, but oh man, it's a hustle. That's why I was very fortunate to come up on the Texas New Mexico border and in the West Texas area. And man, there was just in Lubbock. There's 3 promotions in Lubbock, and then Amarillo. They had that one that would run consecutively every week, and occasionally something else would pop off in Amarillo. Occasionally, but man, you got to get after it. It's just part of it. Out here, New Mexico was always the hub, man. Back, a little bit of history and stuff I know. It was always the leg of the territory, like the far west corner of the territory was Albuquerque, and then hit Las Cruces, then El Paso, and then come back around. And that's just, I mean, that's the old territory system, man. That's how it was. They'd plan that stuff out. Thursday they would hit Albuquerque, Friday they'd hit Las Cruces, and Saturday they'd hit El Paso, then all the way back. Man, it was the West Texas, the end of the West Texas, man.
That's the life of a pro wrestler, man. Travel, 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 man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that I drove to the Knoxville, Tennessee to JPWA. I didn't necessarily. I was there for 6 weeks at the end of 2019, and then I came back to my family's ranch here. I had all the stuff to do and people to pay. You know how you got to balance life out a little bit. That trip was 19 hours long, but I didn't get to wrestle on it. I just trained with Dr. Tom there at his school and his academy. It was another great experience, man. I got to meet a lot of people, a few famous people. Literally sat there and talked to Glenn Jacobs, and I mean, the dude he's a monster of a man. I can't even think of it. He's like 6'9" or 6'11". I swear, he's gigantic. But dude, that's just part of the wrestling business, is those long trips, man. I think I drove 14 hours to Mississippi, picked up a friend in Fort Worth. I think we picked up 2 guys in Fort Worth and then drove on to Mississippi, another 7 hours.
So when you do those long drives and there's only like 20, 30 people in the crowd, are you disappointed in that? And how do you perform on those shows?
Man, no, dude, I get I don't care how many, man. If there's 5 people, if there's 1 kid that gets excited, that's cool with me. I get giddy. I went to recently, man. Actually, my last booking, I hadn't had a booking here the last 3 months. Actually, no, almost 5 months, man. I got to get my stuff together. Had a few life, you know how life gets, man. Got to keep your family and stuff right. But it was in Arkansas, and it was a church crowd. And the first match, there's probably 50 people. The second match, we walk out there, and they had a rib truck. Like they took this was the deal. They took like a 5-minute intermission between matches, so people could get food, this and that, and guys that had merchandise, you could sell it. But the crowd walked away. You know, they weren't ready for the matches to start back, and we just had the entrances, like it was a church venue, but we did it outside in their parking lot. This is the middle of June. Your music you come out to, it didn't matter. I was just, man, it was all right. Just make it something country, dude. We'll just live with it. And maybe 20 people walked back, dude. But we had fun. I wrestled I think it was a guy from Dallas, actually. And oh man, we just made the best of it out there. But it was in a parking lot, summertime. That's just, dude, I love it. It's the wrestling business, dude. A lot of people don't get it until they have to experience that, and it's just the wrestling business, dude. Who wants to sit in a parking lot, 100 degrees? It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, church service just got over, and they're gonna have wrestling. You know what I mean? Like that's a crazy mindset. But oh, dude, it's the people that show up, dude. I thank God for them, dude. I love it. It's a great experience, man. I'm very fortunate in the business so far for what I have done. But man, that's just part of stuff.
So where'd you come up with the name Caden Hoss?
Man, Caden, I'm not for sure where I came up with Caden. I know Hoss, I came up with it because of Bonanza, Big Hoss. And I'm not the giant, like the most biggest guy you'll ever see, but I am like country strong and heavy muscles are thicker, than most. Like I'm 5'10", 5'9", and 200, 210, in between those, And that's actually, I'm probably sloppy fat right now at the moment, way more. But Big Hoss was one of my favorites on Bonanza, and he's just a big dude that just literally just top people, club them, and what I mean, whip your ass and then shoot you type of guy. And that kind of cracked me up. That's kind of, and you'd have to watch Bonanza to get it too. He was a lovable character.
So I'm imagining that you've played both heel and face throughout your character. What's your favorite thing to do?
Man, I've played heel just a little bit. It's fun, just because it's the opposite of babyface, but it's harder to do, especially with the greener guys you get. And man, I'm not gonna lie, dude. If we can make it an easy night and it'd be like a veteran, I can be in there with somebody that's like 15 years experience, and I'm like, yeah, man, I can learn from this dude. Me be a babyface and just go be a babyface. That's also fun too, because you get it at the end of the match with the crowd. You get them behind you. All their energy goes through you more or less. It's different for the heel. I don't know, man. I'd have to say babyface. They're both fun, but babyface would be my favorite.
So this is the portion of the podcast where I ask the wrestler to cut a promo in character, whether it's a face or a heel, on your next opponent. Are you willing to do that for us?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm ready. I'm willing to do it for you, man. Any parameters, anything you want?
On your next opponent, bro.
Next opponent, make it simple. Okay. I'm gonna use you if you don't mind, man, because I need somebody's name, right? CJ, you seem like a pretty smart guy. You've been around a little bit, but you have a lot of talk and no answers. A lot of talk and no action. See, I'm here for a good time, buddy, and you're wasting my time. So if you want to run your mouth, shoot your shot at me, oh man, just let me get you in that ring, buddy. I'm going to show you how good a time we're going to have. I love it.
That's awesome, bro. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, you've done a lot of drives because you're from New Mexico, and I'm imagining going from New Mexico to another state is a long ass drive. So, I'm sure you
Just
have
driving
some fun.
across New Mexico is.
I'm sure you have some funny road stories. Mind sharing some?
Oh man. Yeah, we have to keep this like PG, right? At least we can't. Yeah.
You can swear if you want to, man.
No. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, innuendo. I was on a trip. I gotta think, man. I had several of these I thought of because been booked on this podcast for a bit. All right, this is a funny time, dude. Is the Rampage Wrestling was traveling to Abilene, having a kind of like a home show, more or less, or a road show. That's the way to say it. My bad. It was the middle of February. I drove up there the night before to leave the next morning. I think it was like an afternoon show, probably 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It was on an Air Force base in Abilene. So that was the other cool thing. It's either that or I think that's what it was, or another learning center. But that Air Force base, they had several paid shows we'd put on. 3 inches of snow in Lubbock, Texas. I don't know if you've ever came out west, but Texas drivers are not the greatest in snow, let alone Lubbock drivers. It's horrible. That morning, I woke up with a friend. He's a wrestler and a referee at that moment, and we go to the gym. We work out. We have to push his car out of the snow, I think 3 times from getting stuck in the snow, right? We go load up stuff and pick up, I think, 2 other people, the ring announcer and then another guy that's a heavier dude. That's the nicest way of saying it. But I mean, he's 4 bills at least, right? And 5'10". Good guy. But we hit some eyes coming back on the interstate. Actually, we were actually leaving. We weren't even coming back. We're getting on the interstate to leave and catch a little patch of ice. The car goes into a spin. Everybody had their seatbelt on except for the bigger guy. And he just goes into a pinball effector on the car. Ding, ding, ding. We end up hitting a barricade. Oof. Dude, we didn't blow the airbags. But that dude, he did. He literally pinballed around the car, and then when we hit the barricade, like, it was everything. Put it to you this way: if he wasn't as big as he was, he would have been in the front seat because he got caught up. So, and I get smashed. Like when we first start to spin, I get smashed by him up against the window. Then he goes to the other side of the car, and then it's right in the center.
That sounds right on the center console. Scary at the same time.
Oh, dude! And the referee's driving, and like all day that day. This is probably maybe 10 or 11 in the morning, and we've been up since at least 5, and the showtime jitters, you're all giddy, everything like that, and oh dude, he just like he stops, he's like, oh man, surely nothing happened. We both get out, and the ring announcer's like, man, he's sitting there thinking like we're gonna have to call a tow truck. So like he's pulling up his phone, and he was riding pilot, and that was his job to do, was do the phone. And me and the ref get out. We both look at the front. There's just like a little scrape on his bumper from that barricade, but you can totally see in the snow trail. We done like I think it was 2 loops, and then ended up into the barricade.
That's crazy, bro. That's real crazy.
I Lubbock drivers, man. No, he's a good guy. Man, there's several funny things that's happened on the road. There's that group right there, that referee and that ring announcer, man. They're good guys. Derek Mercer and Pablo Hernandez. They've probably been on 50% of the trips that I've been on was with them. And oh, dude, there's always flat tires. I remember one road trip we drove to Victoria, Texas, which. Okay, you got to understand this about New Mexico and Texas, though. I think it's New Mexico. It's like 6 hours to cross the state. In Texas, you can literally drive, and I think it's 12 is the max. Like you can start in Texas, drive 12 hours, and still be in the state of Texas. And that's how this was. It was Lubbock to Victoria, Texas. 8 hours or 9 hours. And, man, dude, it was getting ridiculous. I swear, every, 30 minutes or 40, 30 minutes to an hour, every little town, we'd have to stop and air up this car tire. And it was getting ridiculous. At one point, man, we tried putting slime in it, all this stuff, and none of it helps, man. On the road trip back, we almost, on the way back, we're running low on the air on the tire, and we're running low on fuel. And it's like we missed this one exit, and the ring announcer, he wakes up. I'm actually driving at this point. And catching this last bit, because it's 8 hours there and 8 hours back. We were going to be back to I think 9 or 10 in Lubbock that next morning. And this is 6 in the morning. He wakes up. He's like, man, that last exit, it's going to be 40 miles to the next town. How much fuel do we got? I'm like, oh, yeah, we got 20, dude. we got to turn back around, bro. So, yeah, we wasted on that trip. Yeah, it was supposed to be 8 hours. I think it was almost 10 both ways. That's having to air up that tire. And then almost running out of fuel that one time. But,
welcome to wrestling, man.
Right, yeah, the stupidest stuff can happen, man.
So why does wrestling mean so much to you?
Ooh, man, it's something I've connected with my family. My grandmother, she passed away last year, this month. And that's her and my uncle after I was a little kid, and we watched wrestling as I was a little kid. Later, when he got cable, he got it there at his mother's house or my grandma's house. he lived beside her because she was already at that time in her 60s, and literally they would watch it when I was in high school, and I would talk to them about it. Just hey, did you catch Monday Night Raw last night? And that was at the time when John Cena was like turning super baby face, and he just Edge too. Edge was this like super heel. Orton was super heel, and I remember when Undertaker lost his world championship to Edge with that Money in the Bank, dude. I remember my grandma we talked about that. And she was so hot. That's something I don't know. Something I just remember my grandma for, and that connection there. My mom, she loves wrestling too. My dad, he's always kind of like looked at it as like what, like it's kind of like a circus event. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like a carnival, but yeah, it's got a little bit of everything for everybody. But.
So a couple more questions for you, Mr. Caden Hoss, before I let you go, because I know you gotta get going, and I believe we're in a different time zone, right? You're in the West, so you're like 3 hours behind me.
Yeah, it's pushing 5 o'clock right now, man, or just a little bit after 5. So.
Okay. So if you can change one thing in the professional wrestling business, what would it be and why?
If I could change one thing, holy cow. Oh, dude, it'd be, I don't know, man. I get tired of the people that like this expression's from football, but that like the couch quarterback, where like the people are like, oh, this is what you should have done. This is how I would have done it. Like stuff like that. That can be ridiculous at some points. You're like, well, we still got the story we were going to tell across. You know what I mean? Like everybody has a different. This is something from Dr. Tom. Everybody has a different favorite flavor of ice cream. Some people might like chocolate. Some people might not. Some people might like vanilla. Some people might like strawberry. It just all depends on what you like. I think the business at the moment it's fluctuating right now, and actually with AEW and man, you got so much more eyes. That's not weekly viewers. It's more the media is the way to say it. But you got so much more that on the business now than what there was probably 10 years ago. Everybody was just Monday Night Raw. Maybe you'd hear a little bit about Ring of Honor. And or not okay, maybe 10 years ago, probably more like 15. I graduated high school like 10, 15 years ago, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And you got so many more opportunities and places to work, and they're all you get your own you get your credibility from them, and they're all credible in their own way. You know what I mean? Like look at everybody who's left WWE and came back. Johnny Mundo, you know what I mean? He was Lucha Underground, then he went to AAA, and you don't think he could go to AEW? You know he could, and he'd make money over there. Chris Jericho, he's broke all the barriers for everybody. Him and Cody Rhodes, and then you got the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. They've kind of created their own faction. I think of them as like trying to take the NWO and like what they have of the Bullet Club and like make their own but different, more or less. It's a good thing, man.
I totally agree, man. It is a good thing because WB is not the be all end all anymore. There's a lot of different promotions that you can go to, a lot of different promotions that you can work for, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. And speaking of opportunity, what can we expect out of you in the next 3 years?
Ooh. Man, everybody, well, when you start out, everybody, I got to get signed to WWE or die. Or now it's, everybody's like that or AEW because that'd probably be an easier. I say that. I'm probably going to get hate on that. But yeah, AEW is not any easier than WWE, but it's another alternative. I'm hoping, man, there used to be a television. I'm not for sure if they're open anymore out in Texas. I think they are. I've been trying to get on with them this last year, and I haven't yet. But SWE Fury and MLW, I like them a lot. especially before. I haven't watched a lot of them since COVID, but before COVID, man, that stuff was, oh man, it was top notch. I don't know exactly with with my living situation, my family situation, what it's, like ranch life. It's high times and low times. It fluctuates like the wrestling business. So I don't know if I'll be here within the next 3 years or not. But man, I had a brief stint in Tennessee there for 6 weeks. I love that. That was an eye opener when I got to go up there, and we've made a couple of road trips up there too. But man, when you can go to a state where literally every booking is less than an hour to 2 hours road trip, coming from 3 to 5 at least, and if you live in Albuquerque, at least 5 to 7. You know what I mean? Like that. I'm very fortunate for living out here in Roswell. That's a lot of people have caught flack these last couple of months for traveling to Albuquerque from Roswell. So it's like a 3-hour trip to train, but do that twice a week just to get some ring time. And man, when you don't have ring time, you can't work in the ring, dude. That's a stain on the business and shouldn't be allowed, man. I don't like that. That is something. I don't know. I just hold myself to a certain standard, and I know Dr. Tom and even where I came up at Rampage, those guys, they hit it at least. Those guys that travel to Lubbock to train from Sweetwater and Abilene, and those guys get there at least once a week, but they have 3 other days of training. Guys at Amarillo have 3 days of training. But you gotta make the effort, dude. And you can be talented, you can be great, but at the end of the day, that's might not be what they want. So you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if you can do the flips and the flops and the fly if you can't tell the story. So, man, yeah. Sorry. What was your question, dude? I get on a rant, man. You gotta. I'm sorry, dude. You gotta
No
aim me a little bit.
problem.
I talk a lot.
Don't worry about it, brother. It was great having you on. We wish you the best of luck in your career, Mr. Caden Hoss. Thank you so much for coming on the Five Star Revolution podcast. And where can our listeners connect with you on social media?
Man, since I got booked on this podcast, dude, I just opened up an Instagram and a Twitter, so there's not a lot on there. But my Twitter's it's just real Caden Hoss, and then Caden.Hoss on Instagram. So I'm looking, man. The next few weeks, getting in the car and road tripping with the guys from OTR. They're in Albuquerque. That they got some hustle to them, and I've been in Texas for a little bit, hoping to make some waves in Arizona, maybe California, and dude, like I said, Tennessee and Florida is kind of like the holy grail, ain't it?
Hey, man, we wish you the best of luck. I see a bright future ahead of you. We got Caden Hoss right here on the Five Star Revolution podcast. Don't forget, $200 Visa gift card giveaway. Facebook, 1,000 likes. Go to Facebook and share the Five Star Revolution podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here, right now. Mr. Caden Hoss, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night, sir.
See you, CJ.